A different day, bitch. It's like
That could be the intro to our to the podcast.
it takes over my entire laptop, and like for some reason, I can't just minimize this. Oh, I can hear myself. I don't like it.
Every time. Oh, you don't like that feedback? Is that how I can stop you?
I don't like this.
Better.
Oh yeah, I can only hear you now. It's just the way God intended.
Thanks, Boo. So Spider-Man, let's just get right off the bat. What are you rating it out of 10? On the spot right now.
Oddly enough, I'm in between at the moment of between 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. And I know.
What? What could you give to... I can see 9. But 10?
8?
I'm sorry.
No, 8.
I was the wrong way.
8,
I know.
8. No.
Why 8?
8 or 9 out of 10. Because there are like some issues with it. Like I like it a lot.
Do you think anyone can get into it?
I do, but I don't think that's a good judgment of it.
Do you think hardcore and casual alike could find the same enjoyment in it?
They'll both find different levels of enjoyment, I find.
But enjoyment nonetheless.
Yes. Some form of enjoyment.
I'm going to give it a 9.6.
Damn, you're putting a decimal point in there.
I am.
You little bitch for that.
It's not perfect, but it's definitely my game of the year so far.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm balls deep in Dragon Quest XI still, so let me get back to you on that.
For me, it's right now my game of the year, but also like this year, not to downplay how much I love this game. I'm gonna gush about it, so I first want to get into like
me too. But I just thought like right off the top of the bat,
it's my game of the year. But I haven't really played that many things that really stood out. But I don't think I'll play anything this year that scratches my itches as much as this game. So
far the only
sounds weird.
The only contenders really are God of War, this, and for me Dragon Quest XI. I can't really think of any other games that came out this year.
Didn't Yakuza 6 come out this year?
Neither of us played it.
Yeah, but we own it, and I'm gonna play it before the end of the year.
Okay, well, good thing this isn't the Game of the Year podcast in fucking September.
Oh no, that shit released in 2017.
What did 6?
Yeah.
Wow, we're real late. We haven't even got through Kiwami yet.
Yeah, well, the thing about Yakuza games,
it's not what we're talking about today.
Yeah, but I love them.
This is specifically a Spider-Man podcast.
Actually, so to go back to a parallel oddly enough, between Yakuza and Spider-Man, what I'm hoping is that Spider-Man kind of becomes like a Yakuza-like game, where it's like
they just keep using the map. They keep adding new games.
Yeah, and they keep on adding new parts of the map, and also maybe they can add in like, so in Yakuza 3, they add in like a small island section where Kiryu has a orphanage. You have to go visit and do stuff at the orphanage. So I think maybe they could add Queens or something else to the game as like a little offshoot, maybe not like the main game proper, like where most of the action is, but just like here's a little area you can fuck around in Queens. But anyway, that's future. But I loved it a lot. I loved web slinging. I love the violence. Like people want to compare it to Arkham, but the thing about Arkham is Arkham's combat is good, but it can also be a bitch and a half because it's not as easy to use all the gadgets.
I would agree. I feel like any one of these you can use, although regular web swinging or regular web shooters and then impact web got the most use for me. And then I branched out. Trip mines, web bombs, and concussive blasts are my fucking favorite. And then electric web I barely used. I used suspension matrix when nothing else worked.
I use suspension matrix actually all the time. I found that it was easier to, like, if there was a large fleet of those Sable agents, I'd use
Sable agents is when I started using it.
I'd lift them up in the air, hit them with the regular web shooter thing, and then throw them into a wall to just speed up the process.
That works, yeah.
But I find myself using every single gadget whenever there's like the crowd of like 5 enemies. I'm like, all right, fuck it, we're just gonna let everything go.
I could do it 5. Like that's
No, I could too, but it's just like
shit. Oh shit.
It's just more. It's just more fun to whatchamacallit.
Where's that crime? I just realized I left someone. Someone's in a car wreck right now. Holy shit.
I hope you're happy that someone has died on your watch.
Where the fuck are they?
Check this to make sure it's not the.
There we go.
Yeah, you got it.
I don't need to do this, by the way. I choose to.
So, things that let's talk a little bit more about the things we disliked about the game before we start gushing.
Can I have a word in edgewise?
Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
You think is that allowed?
No, fuck you. not on this podcast.
So let me just do a quick intro. This is a Spider-Man spoiler cast. We're gonna do non-spoilery talk first. Then we're gonna spoil. I'll warn you when it happens.
Nailed it.
But for now, this is just general stuff. If you're like I don't know, I kind of want to experience the game for myself. All I'll say is 9.6 and then an 8 or a 9, depending on how Carlos feels at the end of the talk. But both of us would recommend it wholeheartedly to any. If you have even a passing interest in Spider-Man, definitely. If you've never experienced Spider-Man at all, I'd still say this is the best intro you can get.
I'd actually recommend. Sorry, Nick. This is a video thing. To turn off the subtitles only so that way, because I know Jameson's gonna touch on some things. Granted, I don't think it's gonna be that crazy. That at the end of the day, shit works out.
Just turn off his.
Yeah. Actually, that's even better.
I mean, I feel like most people are just gonna be listening. I'm just gonna leave it. Whatever. Leave it.
Alright. Whatever. Don't look at Jameson's subtitles if you don't want to get spoiled.
We're just playing Fast and Loose at this point.
Yeah. Do you want to go first on what you want to talk about?
So you want to? Should we start
more general?
Let's start on the things we didn't like.
All right.
I have very, very minor complaints.
Yeah, mine are more so.
Minor.
My only beef is really towards story, but some of the side objectives are kind of annoying. To get some of the suits and the different stuff, you have to gold every challenge.
Not quite.
Or more than half. But it's more. I'm
well, again, not quite. So I re-looked at that. So to get I did just the bare minimum challenges. That's why I have one left, one token left. To get all the suit mods, gadgets, and suits, you need to gold about half of them and silver the rest. And that can be somewhat of a daunting task, except I think the combat and the stealth ones are very easy once you get the hang of them. And those are the only. I think I only golded one drone mission by accident. I did it my first try.
I guess I'm gonna do that this weekend.
But I do agree. It's the only reason I have an issue with it in the first place is that it sticks out so much because all of the other stuff are so lenient.
Oddly enough, so I was listening to a Waypoint podcast, and they were talking about whatchamacallit. They didn't like a lot of the side missions, but I found myself doing all the side missions actually because I enjoyed swinging so much and interacting with the world. Granted, I do wish that there were more side missions where it's there's a story, there's a little bit of an arc.
This is very minor spoiler, but there's one villain who's involved in the side missions, and it's Tombstone. And
yeah, that was the best one.
It was basically 3 side missions where you sort of just take out Tombstone's criminal enterprise, and then the third one culminates in a boss fight with him. Tombstone is a villain I'd never heard of before this, but it was cool. It was good getting to see how his shit works. It was it's just a side mission with a story, which I think most people who play games can agree. That's usually the ones you like doing.
Yeah.
So I think that one was definitely the best one. There was the other ones I thought still had charm.
Yeah, there was a charm to them, the way he interacted, particularly the Spider-Man one.
Well, the bird watching one was pretty cool too. I like that.
Yeah, that one too.
So it's just I don't think they should be discounted.
It's just more. I wish they did more with them.
Yeah, that's my other thing. I wish it felt like wasted potential, but not in kind of another side mission. It was just more of there was just enough, but they weren't all super amazing.
It didn't have that effect where in a lot of RPGs, you hit a certain point where you're like I hit this with The Witcher, despite that's one of my top 10 games of all time. You're just like, okay, there's just too many side missions now. There's just like, at this point, I've forgotten where I am in the main story because I've done too many side missions, and I forget
Yeah, that never happened for me. There's usually like after a main mission, you'll get maybe one or two, or like after every couple main missions, I should say. So it balances out pretty well. I can sort of agree with that. That's not one of the reasons I detracted points. I'll concede the point, but it's not like an issue I had.
Yeah, when it's an 8 or a 9 out of 10 in my estimation, issues tend to be very small. Also, one thing that happened to me, I don't know if it happened to you, but the game crashed on me a bunch, oddly enough.
I think it happened to me twice. One time it was right after I finished the challenge. I immediately tried to open up a suit and get an upgrade, and that just like I could tell like I put too much stress in the game. Like I think one other time it just kind of randomly happened, but like for me it was mostly I could figure out why it was happening. It was like hardware stuff.
Yeah, so I got four out of 5. I got like 4 or 5 crashes. Granted, I didn't. They weren't game breaking for me. It's just like this is a minor inconvenience. Yeah, but yeah. And then there's
further versions of the game might not have those crashes.
True. Yeah. So I don't want to like penalize it too much, but at the moment for me, but and then
as someone who beat it within the first couple days of release,
yeah,
it bothers me.
Another. Damn, I feel like I'm actually kind of grasping for straws with these annoyances.
I'm not feeling your 8. Talk about how much I talk with you over the game. I don't think you think it's an 8.
I'm allowing more room, but I also think it might grow when I play the DLCs that come out.
That's fair, but
granted, one annoyance was the Black Cat side mission things.
Did you not like those ones?
The annoyance with those were more like, I'm a man of means, I know. So I'm like, I'm gonna spend the $30 or whatever to get the DLC that completes that story, you know. But I would be
right. So, what he's talking about is that the first DLC for Spider-Man is going to be involved Black Cat, and some people thought that they teased Black Cat in the main story and then kind of like left you hanging with like an unresolved story.
It's not unresolved.
That's where I'm going to like disagree.
They resolved the story.
Just that little bit of Black Cat was like on par with like Tombstone or Shock or whatever, where I thought she got enough screen time, or not screen time, but I thought she was involved in the game enough where it's like I don't have any complaints. Where I was like, whatever, if this was just it for Black Cat, it's like that's just a nice like reference. There was no real consequences because she didn't really do anything. So like I was satisfied with that. So when I heard people like were complaining about that, like I kind of disagree with it. I was like, it's fine. I'm not trying to be like an apologist for the game. It's just I do think it's really good. And I think because it's good, people are looking for reasons to say why it's not good.
True, which I think that's also a flaw. But like,
you think it's a flaw?
No, a flaw in my perspective. Like I'm like I enjoyed the side mission. I thought it gave a little charm to see like. It reminded me a little bit of the Riddler trophies in Batman art. Like I know that we're all like. Sadly,
it's hard not to because
they're very similar.
We can touch upon that more, but let's just...
So I think because I'm in my like positives, like when I start jerking this game off hard, I'm gonna say how it's better than Arkham. But like it was just more a little bit annoying that like that little side mission maybe could have been used for a different character that wasn't gonna be the DLC.
I can see that.
But it was dope, and also like it was cool, but it was just annoying.
What he's talking about, because I don't really have footage for it, is there are little. Actually, maybe I do.
There's 12 missions. I don't think you can redo them.
Yeah. So basically, there were these little stakeouts that you had to do. You would come to like a telescope, and you have like a little audio recording left by Black Cat, and a bunch of like a sleeping bag and a bunch of like takeouts. And you would have to find like where she left one of her like markers,
and like where she entered a building.
It's like a little robot cat, and she would like leave hints for you, like basically like, chase me, Spider-Man, in that kind of fucking way. But by the end of it, this is a spoiler for the Black Cat side mission. By the end of it, you you find her lair, all the shit that she stole and more, and she just like left it in a warehouse for Spider-Man, and she was along with a new suit that she made, which I thought was dope that she did that, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's just like so, but it's like you do 12 stakeouts, and then you find out that the little like thing she was leaving around at, that Spider-Man was like turning over to the police for evidence, all activated at once she gets back to the police station, and they all trigger, and she like sneaks into the police station. She doesn't steal anything except her old outfit, because at this point in the timeline, Black Cat like already did all her shit and is just like giving up the life of crime, but now she's returning to it clearly.
Like that's not even a beef. That's like a side issue. But
basically, it was like a victimless crime. She basically just took her suit back. Yeah. And she returned a bunch of shit she'd stolen, either over the couple days or in her long career. So it was like overall, it was like a kind of a moot point, like definitely a net gain for the police.
Mm-hmm.
But it also means she's back at large. The reason some people feel kind of difficult about this is because there's a Black Cat DLC. So it's like, why couldn't this just have been like the start of the DLC or something, or incorporated?
Yeah. So that was the only that, and whatchamacallit, there weren't any other real side missions that annoyed me. Otherwise, like again, and I'm more towards the 9 than I am an 8. An 8 is even. I'm just gonna keep
bringing it to you until you say, all right, it's a 9.
My only there's some like site story annoyances. Let's talk about
before we get into this stuff, I want to talk about my minor annoyances.
Yeah.
So the reason this is not a 10 is that for a few specific reasons. For one,
no Venom.
For one, the thing I'm doing right now, these are like the crimes that happen across the city. Normally, there's 20 of these per district in Manhattan. 5 from each faction, so 5 thugs, 5 blank, 5 blank, and then 5 blank. I'm trying not to spoil, but we're gonna spoil later anyway. But to get, and there's 5 thug crimes in Central Park. The other ones don't go there. But basically, to get the 100% in this game, you have to you have to do
pretty much swing around and wait.
No, I have the number. You have to do 165 total random crimes around the city, which isn't bad, because like that's what Spider-Man would do, but it's more of like when you're going for the 100, it's not even that. It's not going to come up naturally. Like, like at first, because there's only one. The first faction you have is the thugs, and that was dope. I love getting them to the polls. The first faction you have is the thugs, which is what I've been fighting the entire time. They're not hard, and I had most of their crimes done, like probably 95% of them, by the time like I got to the next faction in the story. And then I had most of the second factions done, except for like a little less, but I had most of them. And then they introduced the third and fourth factions at the same time, and so you're like vying for like 10 crimes per district, including any ones you may not have mopped up with the first 2. And then it's just at that point in the game, you just want to rush through the story. So it's like you'll stop and do the crimes, but you're like there's not as much side quests or side stuff to do because you've done it already.
True.
So I felt that I basically, to get the platinum for this, I had to like sit around waiting for crimes to happen, which does not feel very Spider-Man.
I mean, that kind of
maybe it does. Yeah. But it was just boring. Is the best.
But as the player doesn't, it's not the greatest thing to be like, I'm just sitting here hoping shit pops off rather than like shit is popping off and I'm going to it.
So that's not like a huge thing. That's more of a personal thing. So I'll knock. So I knocked 0.2 off for that. The other thing is for collectibles, I thought I think it's actually one of the game's strong points, and I usually do not.
Oh, I hate collectibles. This is one of the few games I actually collected them all.
Like, I'm playing through Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and I just played through Assassin's Creed 2. 2, I had to collect the goddamn fucking feathers. And this game, I have to collect the fucking temple flags. And I can't think of a more boring collectible than just like, hey, here's 100 of these fucking random items. Go collect them. I don't like that. Spider-Man kind of turns that on its head a little bit. They introduced the first collectible almost immediately, and it's Spider-Man's backpacks that he's like left around the city. Because if you've seen a Spider-Man movie, then you know that
Boy, you got to disrobe and then
yeah, and then it's like he fucking webs the backpack up to like a wall or something. Well, turns out he's done that about 55 times, and there's backpacks all over the city. We'll get to the realistic and how that would not fly part of that, but basically they're all a bunch of memories and stuff, and also huge missed opportunity to not have this be a Vita. Let's just fucking bring that out there. But there's like a bunch of it's literally just like memories from like when he was starting out doing Spider-Man, like cracked lens, when he first fought the Vulture, and then other shit where it's like just memories to Peter. And I really like this. This is a really interesting collectible. Each one is unique. It's all voice acted and stuff. And I thought it was like a cool collectible. On top of that, every backpack you collect gets you a backpack token, which you can use to upgrade certain abilities and stuff like that. That's how all of the collectibles worked for the most part. And I really like that system. I hate useless collectibles, but if you give me a use for them, then I'm like, yeah, I'm all about it. Let's do it. Like I collected all of the backpacks like as soon as possible, and I don't regret it at all. And then there's I'm trying to think. So what was the next collectible?
I thought that was the only collectible.
No, I mean
there's the research labs, and then there's the pigeons, and then there's
So.
Then there's crime tokens and challenge tokens.
Well, the landmarks are definitely collectible.
Oh yeah, but those are the easy.
They're still a collectible.
True, but I actually prefer the.
So the landmarks are exactly what they sound like. They're both New York and Spider-Man New York, like fucking landmarks. So like the Empire State Building is one, Avengers Tower is one. I forget how many total there are, but basically you just run up. Fucking snatch a pick, it'll even slow down in midair as you do this, and then fucking grab it, and that's it. And those were fun too, because he had like a. You also don't
even need to make like do that well of a photo. You just have to get the subject in the frame, and then boom.
They're really lenient with it, which is nice, because that would have been very annoying.
That was the most fun, like just swinging through the city, and then like grabbing the quick photo, and then on to the next one.
Yeah. So, like, again, that's another good collectible. And then there's... I actually have to check.
I thought you were going to say a negative thing about these collectibles.
I am. Hold on. So there's those. There's the random crimes. You get tokens for that. There's the base tokens, which are, like, waves of enemies and, like, waves and waves and waves. Which I didn't mind because they're, like, there's just enough of them where I'm like, all right. But I'm not, like, overwhelmed by them. At the same time, if there was, like, 3 per faction, I'd be like, that's better. Probably. But it wasn't like a inconvenience. I was like, all right, I'll do them. And they each had their own like little reason why you had to break into it. Like so, the first one is like Fisk's warehouse, and it's all about like the Kingpin's like how he's like getting money and stuff like that. And each of them was different. It's like, oh, this one's stolen art. Oh, this one's smuggling drugs. Oh, this one. And it's like you kind of have like a little bit of back and forth with the police chief while you do it, and I like that. So those weren't bad. The only collectible that I thought was completely goddamn pointless was the pigeons.
Leave the pigeons alone.
There were 12 pigeons, and you were doing it for a dude, and I liked it because it's like he lost his wife, and he just happened to like collect pigeons. And I was expecting, because they gave you research tokens, which you can get a couple different ways. So I was like, I mean, you're technically getting something for them, but I didn't need the tokens at the time because again, there's other means to get them, and there's no payoff. You get all the pigeons, and it's just kind of like, hey, thanks, Spider-Man, really appreciate it. I think my wife would have liked this. I'm like, oh, cool. No suit or anything for collecting the pigeons, because that would have been a perfect opportunity to just give you like a random ass suit, just to make up for it. Because it's just
it does give you research tokens.
I know but I said that, but it's just like it didn't. That was the one I felt was like useless, because he'll have little banter. But it's like oh,
it's
man.
Not that great of banter.
It's like, oh, I gotta catch this pigeon. It's like, oh, pigeons. Why is a pigeon so much faster than me? Oh, it's like, oh, cool. That was funny the first 3 times. What about the next 9? And so it just that's minus 0.1 for those keeping score. And then let's talk about the. I think we both had this issue. Let's talk about the suits. Now, this sounds bad. I think the suits are pretty good. I think they give you a lot. I think they give you a decent enough variation of all the different suits. There's a total.
Are you going to give a negative point for this, or
yes?
Okay. So
there's a total of 27 or 28 suits. I only have 27 because fucking the last one's hard
so
as shit.
I'm gonna put the brakes on this only because this game is obviously selling well because I think like literally everyone with the PS4 has been that I follow on Twitter has been posting them playing it. So I'm like, it makes sense that they're not going to use like all the other classic alternative costumes that Spider-Man wore, right? Because I'm thinking that they're probably going to keep the mechanic into the next game, and they also like they don't want to waste the symbiote suit on some like, all right, cool.
So
we used in the first game.
So this is the issue, is that you can unlock different suits. You unlock them every 2 levels, and some you unlock early if you have the pre-order. Some you unlock through different challenges and stuff. Like you unlock a special suit for doing the Black Cat stuff. And I'm fine with that. Even if they're not like... So the cool thing about the suits is that even if you don't really like the suit, like this ugly piece of shit, the fucking punk rock suit.
Leave the punk rock suit alone.
They all come with their own powers, which is dope as fuck. This is easily one of the best functions in this game, even though the one I mostly used was the Web Blossom, which comes with the original suit, and because it just webs everyone in sight. But there's a bunch of different power-ups and stuff, and I like the idea of them and stuff like that. I think the cooldown is slightly too long. If there was like, if enemies dropped like an instant like refill for the powers, then I feel like I'd use them differently. But I'm not gonna like knock the game for that. I understand. I think they're all pretty cool. But. So, like, I never felt like... I was never like, oh, man, fucking that suit, that sucks. Like, for a second I would, but then I'd be like, oh, well, I'm going to unlock something cool, so it's okay. And then... So, that was one of my big things. The issue is, there's, for me, at least 2 huge suits that they're missing out on. And it's the symbiote suit, which I will fault them for. And it's the Miles Morales suit.
Okay,
Again,
technically, the Miles Morales one is in it.
What? No, it's not.
The Secret Wars suit. He gets the same suit in the Ultimate. That one he's worn that suit.
But that's not the Miles Morales suit.
That's not his usual suit, but that's his second version suit.
So you're saying this is from Miles' universe?
Yeah, Miles' own Secret War and Ultimate.
I mean, I'm not saying like I'm mad because there's no Miles Morales suits. I'm saying I'm mad because like the Miles Morales original suit is the one that I wanted. True. Where it's like
but I think we'll see
the black suit with like the red accents and stuff like that. Which I mean looks a little bit like the Black Cat suit, but not quite.
I think we're probably gonna see that, but we'll get into that the next part.
Well, so this is my issue. There's that one, and then there's the goddamn symbiote suit. Now I get it. Okay, I fully understand why they're not doing it. They probably think they wanted to hold some things back because they probably realized that they're going to get a second game. That's good. I'm happy for them. They should get a second game. But I think if anyone wanted one other suit other than the original, like the one suit they fucking know, the general public knows, it's the goddamn symbiote suit. So that's why I take issue with them leaving that one out. It's like the literal only one that most people want.
Sure.
And my guess, and you think it's going to be towards the second game, which I think it will.
I think second or third.
It's definitely going to be in the second game based on certain factors we can get into later. But I think what annoys me more is that I think they might not wait until the second game. I think, because they said they're adding 3 new suits per DLC. My assumption is that each DLC is going to be one, like, iconic suit, one, like, new suit that Insomniac made, and then one like joke suit where it's like just looks ridiculous or something.
Then we're gonna get like a Ratchet and Clank suit.
Yeah, something like that. So it's like I think so that's how it's gonna go. And I think they'll probably separate them per DLC. So like the first DLC might have the Miles Morales suit, the second one might have the symbiote suit, and that's what's gonna annoy me. If it's like if you're holding back those suits to sell DLC, then I'm not okay. But if they don't and they just hold it back for the second game, fine. Minus 0.1, but still fine. It'd be minus like a little bit more if they just held it back for the DLC.
Alright. So you want to talk about things we like?
Yeah, let's gush over this game.
Alright, let's...
So, I want to talk about the story. So...
Spoiler warning.
This is your grand spoiler warning. We're going to go heavy fucking into the spoilers, into the story. you're gonna know the entire goddamn.
So
plot of
when
this game.
Peter fucks me, MJ.
Fucks May. Ugh.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I want to talk about the setting of the story. So the setting takes place 8 years after Spider-Man becomes Spider-Man. But, they leave out all of his major villains. And by major, I don't mean like Scorpion and Rhino. He's fought them. I mean like the big villains.
Three.
Yeah, so he left out Venom, they left out Doc Ock, and they left out Green Goblin. Somehow,
Which
in the
I
first
which
8
I think
years...
works.
No, I just want to say it.
Yeah,
Somehow in the first 8 years of his career, none of those have surfaced. And he's still on good terms with Dr. Octavius, with the Osborns, and with Eddie Brock? Question mark?
If Eddie Brock exists.
He does. Actually, I wanted to point this out to you. I'm glad I can do this now.
I heard there was a reference to him, but I was like unsure.
It's very, very small. In his good luck card, when he leaves the Daily Bugle, the people see all the people sign it, and then right in the top, great working with you, Eddie Brock.
Okay.
And you'll also notice Jameson literally just signed it, but didn't write a note because he's an asshole. But yeah, so those three have not made an appearance in the story, but the whole, the big plot point of this one is that we see the rise of Doc Ock, and I want to go on record saying it with Carlos. I do think it works. I think it's amazing. It means we get to skip the origin story, but still get to go through like some of the broad strokes, where it's like Spider-Man's accomplished. Everyone in the city knows him. He's already gone through a lot of his shit. He's like earned enough recognition from the police. Not quite like perfect, but he's still like got room for growth and stuff like that. I love it. I think it's a great setting for it.
So I'm part. I think I've voiced this opinion before on here, but I know you've definitely heard it. But there's like, in my mind, there's only 3 comic book characters in this world that you do not ever need to do an origin story. That's Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. Because I'm like, we've seen it in every single format, so there's no point in doing it anymore. Just get me to the point where I need to legitimately start to like empathize and care about things. Because I know
I don't
once
need
I
to
see
see
Uncle Ben on the screen, I'm like, that nigga's dying. I know it.
I don't need to see Uncle Ben or Bruce Wayne's parents die again. Okay? We get it. Everyone in the goddamn world knows their origin story. Thankfully, Insomniac just completely avoided it. There's a couple mentions of Ben Parker, Uncle Ben from May, which makes sense. His fucking widow.
And Peter references him as well.
A few times. Not that many. And then you can go visit his grave, and he has like 3 voice lines about it, and there's a trophy for it.
Oh, I haven't done that. I need to do that.
But yeah, that's it. They don't like harp on it. There's no like flashback. Actually, I'll point that out too. No flashbacks in this game, which I mean, props to them for holding their goddamn load.
Yeah, I thought when you start seeing the Scorpion shit, I was like, all right, where are we gonna see Uncle Ben?
Yeah, so it's a good call. I really can't believe they like avoided that shit.
Yeah, so which is great.
I agree. I think it worked really well.
Another thing I really liked in terms of the story, I do love that if you know, let's say pretty much everyone is familiar with Spider-Man to a degree. So as soon as you see Doc Ock, you're like, I know this is turning left at one point, but it allows you to gain some sympathy for the guy because you see that the dude is struggling. The dude is trying to.
We talked about that immediately. How like as the setting in this game is that one of the settings is that Peter works with Dr. Octavius to like work on limb replacement, so like prosthetic limbs, and
which I think works better for his character than like Daily Bugle.
I fully agree. And it's heartbreaking because you see Dr. Octavius and he's like a genuinely nice, optimistic dude, and you slowly see the world just pound the shit out of him until he just like finally just goes and just makes a selfish decision and just fucking snaps. And it's like you can see like why Peter is hesitating and stuff like that, and it's just like, I'm hesitating as the player. Like, this is a good dude, we don't need to do this to him. It's like, but he's kind of fucking up the city, so
one of my favorite like things in superheroes as a whole is I always love when the villain mirrors the hero, but just shows like the faulty
what could have happened if the hero didn't make the right choices.
Yeah, if the hero did not have a strong sense of like a moral code, he'd be like, you know what, fuck it, let's throw everything to Morrowind. Like,
well, we've talked about this before, but in the Ultimate Spider-Man, I want to say it's around like number 50. Peter like just comes off. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's just after an arc, and he confronts Nick Fury. He's like, "Why are you bugging all of my shit? Why are you doing all this to me?" And he's like, "Kid, I want to be honest with you." Because Nick Fury is literally Samuel Jackson
yeah.
in the Ultimate Universe, where he's just like, you have all the makings of a supervillain, and it just kind of hits you as the reader. It's like, oh my god, he does. It's like tragic, parents killed because of something you couldn't, dead parents could have prevented your uncle's death. You have all these powers. The world's out to fucking get you. We honestly thought you would have turned by now, and I was just like, damn, he is so on point.
And we wouldn't hold it against you. But also, like, I do love, like, one thing, like, my favorite trope in Spider-Man as a whole is, like, doing good despite, like, literally everything in the world is trying to make you do bad.
Like, the public will hate him, fucking police will hate him, and he's still like, I still have to do what's right. That's what makes Spider-Man one of the
He still has to pay rent.
Yeah. Oh my god. The stress this game gives you.
Like, I enjoy how...
he's fucking homeless for half the game.
Yes. Actually, another point that Austin Walker from Waypoint touches on. He's like, it's like a young adult video game. Like God of War is like God of War and Last of Us is like the daddy game where it's like, look how painful it is to be an adult or be a man. And this game is just like, dog, it fucking sucks to be an adult. A 23-year-old adult, because like you feel like you should know more about your life, but everything is going wrong, and you keep on trying to do things that like, I think this is gonna work out, I think this is the right decision, but I'm not old enough or have enough experience to know like this is gonna work out.
But it's like he has just enough experience to know like the direction to go, but not the exact path.
And I enjoyed the working with MJ. Granted, one flaw.
Let's try and focus in. We'll take it a little bit at a time.
Okay.
So the setting we really enjoyed.
To go back to the setting. So again, I've said this like 8 million times. Like, my beef with the Arkham games are more like, he can't do this all in one night. This is impossible. This like I can't beat the story in one night, let alone. So like, and I know in the story it's just like, well, the time never elapses. Like
I hadn't thought about that, but that's such a good point. Like,
the story
absolutely need to give this game props for that.
And I love that, like, over the course of the story, like another big beef in open world games is like the game will tell you everything's going to shit, but they don't show you everything going to shit. They just tell you, and then like when
sometimes, but it'll be very slight.
And so when you travel from like all the different parts, you're just like nothing's happening, and then when you show up to the next story mission, it's like, oh, the whole world has gone to shit.
Yeah.
Here I like that it like the world consistently changes. So like, no, like I spent more time earlier in the game doing all the side missions and whatnot. And so you're just like, look how beautiful New York City is. Look how friendly everyone is. But there's still crime, but like nothing too crazy. And then by the end of the game, you're just like, the city's on fire. Everyone is dying. I need to, as Spider-Man, step the fuck up and do shit.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I had.
Oh shit.
Oh shit. So I had all of the side missions. I had all the side missions done before the third act. So there's 3 acts. There's the first one, where just the city's kind of normal. It's like what the game looks like right now on the footage. Then there's the second act where shit's kind of hits.
Sable shows. Sable's
up there, but they're
things
good.
aren't that crazy. You're just like, there's a couple checkpoints, nothing too. I gotta get involved.
Honestly, not really involved in you don't have to really do much with them. And then there's the third act. The city's on fire, and it's like Sable's attacking everyone. There's fucking prisoners running around. It just looks bad, and I like that. It's like, and it's not just like to add to the like you can't do everything in one night thing. Like one of the first,
doesn't.
One of the first missions, I think like the 7th mission, Spider-Man's like, I haven't slept in like 2 days. I need to sleep. Yeah,
and I love that he takes breaks. At one point like takes a week off technically in story mode, like, which is like a week later, and I enjoy the aspect of like, yes, he's Spider-Man, but he's also Peter Parker. Like, one of my beefs with Arkham is like,
that's my favorite part of this game. Like, you can see in the movies, the shows, the comics and stuff like that, where it's like, oh man, Spider-Man's got like 3 different things to do as Spider-Man and like 2 different things to do as Peter Parker. And it's just like, you feel that in this game. Like, they're constantly switching between like, oh, you gotta go fucking talk to Aunt May now. Oh, now you gotta go back to go to work. Oh, now you gotta fight this villain. Oh, now you gotta do this. Now you gotta do this. And it's like non-stop. It's like, god
And
damn,
pay rent.
I'm stressed just thinking about this.
Like, also, another great thing like about the crime, I love, like, one of my big positives is like you're swinging, you're about to get to the next story mission or something, and then you see the crime thing go off, and you're like,
So I discussed this with some people on r/trophies because I could not for the life of me confirm it, but I swear to God, there's like a sensor in this game where it knows when you're about to get to something, and then a crime will appear, because. Like, the amount of times where it's like, okay, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to grab this collectible, or, oh, I'm going to grab this, I'm just going to do this side mission real quick, and then a goddamn crime literally appears as you're, like, seconds away from getting the marker, and you're like, well, I can't let crime happen, so you have to, like, go back, and then you're, like, you know, further away from your marker than you wanted to be, and you end up going back to it. And it's just like, I like that. It's like, that's the most Spider-Man feeling in the goddamn world. It's him like, okay, I'm going to make this place on time. Oh, shit, someone's being robbed. All right, well...
okay, so oddly enough, one thing that I wish it took from another series, and I saw this comparison, and like someone was like, "What is like a great video game making of like a superhero?" And someone was like, "If Spider-Man was Dead Rising, took the Dead Rising timer, I'd be like, that would be amazing."
Oh my god, you know how fucking stressed I would be all the time, because they
Just
would
like-
purposely just not give you enough time.
Yeah, and that would kind of be like,
So that's one thing. You could either do that, or you could do like branching choices, like, oh, do I go to Aunt May and do this right now, or do I go and do this shit I got to do as Spider-Man? But I'm kind of glad they didn't make you do that.
yeah, because a couple of times it's just like,
God, like, you have a fucking dinner plan with Mary Jane, and like there's like 3 missions before it, and I was like, he's not making this dinner. God damn, my
Yeah.
boy's Pete, my boy Pete, he's just trying to make up with her again. It's not gonna work out, and it's like and it does.
or when the
working
fire happens, I was like, oh no, this definitely, we're not making this in time. This is not how this game works. But
going back to the timing stuff. So back to your like 3 acts, because you were talking about how you liked how they all switched. I had done all the side quests and all of the collectibles except for like a few of the bases and stuff by because they weren't introduced yet. I'd done everything possible before Act 3, and no, that dude's dead.
Yeah,
wow, fucking got up and rolled with it.
you got hit him with the finisher. You got to finish it on the night.
But
He's
yeah,
still good. He's still fun.
I know. I mean, what am I gonna take? He's a tank. I can't take him down. Later.
You had the triangle circle thing on him.
I know. I just wanted to show that I fucking that you can web them through roofs or to buildings across the way.
Yeah. So back to the story.
But yeah, so like when it came time to like save the city and shit, I was like, okay, well, I'm glad I have nothing left to do, because I wouldn't feel right about doing it. Oh!
I think you've impaled that man. Oh no, he's good. He's just in pain.
Probably better if I'm not here when the cops arrive.
Nah, he's good. I showed you a picture where I webbed someone to like the corner of a building. It's like, that dude's dead. The
Did
police
you
aren't
get-
gonna get to him in time.
Did you get the picture I sent you?
Yeah, I did.
That was another odd glitch. But whatchamacallit? So yeah, Story did a great job about that. And with the like MJ, because like again, I hate comparing. So I think also the city has a character to it, and like you can interact, you can high five, and like
New York City is a character in the show itself. Is what
Yeah,
you
and
sound
in-
like right now.
and interact with the people, so that way like you actually kind of care about like the virtual space you're inhabiting. Like a beef with Arkham is like there's no one ever on the streets. There's always some reason why there's no one out on the street corner. So like there's no reason for the player to care about the city of Gotham. While here it's just like, well, he's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I enjoy that the side missions have you on street corners talking to people and like, oh, I can help you with this.
How about the fact that you can literally just like wave to people as you run by?
Yeah, I love that. And you can't punch them by accident.
No,
because
it's like this is the same button to punch. So.
And the Twitter, I love the Twitter.
Oh my god, we haven't even checked that. Let's go.
I enjoyed that the Twitter like reacts to your story, and it also reads like real tweets. Someone asked like, how do I get Spider-Man's webbing off me, and like people
Someone
were
just
putting
had an
actual
answer.
tips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one where it's like you have like followers of J. Jonah Jameson, and it's like they're like brush heads, and they just read a lot like, let's call them undesirable people on like Twitter, just like conspiracy theorists and stuff like that.
Yes.
And they capture the voice so well, and it's like it memes a little bit too.
Yeah. Granted, I wish that they did it kind of does annoy me that they paint J. Jonah Jameson as like an Alex Jones type when he's like, granted, it works and it doesn't work at the same time.
It works and it doesn't, because when he's on his like crazy rants, like fucking training rhinoceroses for the police force, then it's like, yes,
that was funny.
This is J. Jonah Jameson. But then he does bring up like legitimate points where it's like, why does Oscorp have all of these fucking towers? So
yeah, why does Spider-Man hack into this? Like,
and it's just like, and why does like it's, I want to say like 1 in like 7 he'll bring up like a decent point, and they'll like try and paint him. Actually, during those ones, I don't really think they paint him as crazy. I think like, when he makes the like honest points. Oh my god, I've never seen this before. There's literally a dude on the fire escape making a phone call. But that's detail.
That's New York City.
But so like usually he'll just like yell a lot when he makes those points. So it's like I don't think they really downplay him as much. But I agree with you. It's hard like for him to like make salient points if they make him an Alex Jones type.
I can't let him hurt that victim anymore.
What else?
Oh shit! I don't have my power up.
Yeah, someone who loves New York. I do love how much the city, how beautiful it is. Like, I love that you can also change the day night, so you can play it like Nick right now could change it to nighttime right now, but he's choosing daylight. You just have to go to a research lab, and you can just change it from there.
Oh, shit.
I'm excited to see. Oh, one beef-ish is like, does Gwen Stacy exist? Because of Gwen Stacy. But then again, I could also see a fun love triangle breaking out in the next game of like meet Gwen Stacy. Then
we get to see how Black Cat is gonna play into things.
True, but like it's more. Does what's our face? Like, because Gwen Stacy kind of has to die. She's one of those borrowed time characters. And like Green Goblin,
unless they bring her back.
Yeah, Green Goblin's just too linked up with her story to like not have her, unless like they kill Mary Jane. But like I don't want them to do that. Oh, I love the fast travel. I love the fast travel system.
My favorite is the one where Spider-Man is next to a dude reading a newspaper that says "Who is Spider-Man?" And he's just like looking over like what what. So let's talk about the big points of the story. I think Spider-Man, this game has 11 villains. We have Wilson Fisk, Tombstone, Shocker, the Sinister Six, and
all Sinister Six.
Yeah,
that's all. That's the majority of them.
No, I'm forgetting one. And Taskmaster.
Mm-hmm. So, and Sable, but
Sable
really
we'll get kind of iffy with. So that's 11 villains, and somehow balanced all of them, I think, successfully. Do you agree? Disagree?
So one of the few minor things is like I kind of wish that they gave more time with each individual villain. Like, I think they do a great job with like kind of catching you up with who they are and like what. That's hilarious. With who they are, interacting with them, and like the boss fights, I think are amazing. It's just more.
There's a few boss fights. There's the one with Negative Man, because he's like one of the main villains of this game. Strangely enough, there's a villain against Scorpion and Rhino together, which I think is fantastic.
I think that's the best boss fight in the game.
I really liked it because it was like you like it because it played like a fucking Bentley fight from Chapter 7 of John Bisson.
Well, I'll talk about it in a second.
But so there was that one, and then there was
Vulture and Electro.
Vulture and Electro, yeah. And then there was also two
Shocker.
Taskmaster, Shocker. Wow. Basically, they gave you a few. Oh fuck! I can't come back for this. This motherfucker being a right mug. But it's like for having 11 villains. Oh, the Tombstone fight was dope too. That was like the only one where I felt like I was actually kicking the shit out of a boss. Because I feel like most of the time, like there's a power up called Quad Damage, and I was annoyed because like there was really no point to use it. I'm like, this should be really overpowered, but I like can't find a good time to use it. Oh shit! I actually fucked that up.
That happens to me every once in a while, and it's always like
I usually go ham on that.
what was I gonna say?
So you wish they had more, but the issue I think is that the Sinister Six, besides Doc Ock, don't come into play until Act 3.
Later in the game.
And on top of that, I think it's hard to fault this because you can't really subtract this from the game, but the E3 trailers fucking showed them. So like you know they're in the game. That would have been a pretty cool reveal otherwise. But I have difficulty faulting them for it, but it's like it did happen. So
yeah. So one thing I kind of wish what would happen. What I could say like about the writing. Like I think in the big plot points it does a good job, but I kind of wished, if anything, it kind of did like it took more from TV instead of like taking from the Spider-Man movies. Oddly enough, so more was just like it does this I feel better in the beginning than in the ending at certain instances. So like it characterizes Spider-Man, characterizes like who Aunt May is, what Feast is, and all these things. So that way you get to care about them, and then they slowly build up until the crescendo. But I kind of wish like there were smaller crescendos within it. So it was just like, oh, like with Shocker, I thought it was cool. Like you run to, you hear Shocker breaks out, then you have to go interact with Shocker. But then like after that, I was like, I wish we could have like had one more thing with Shocker maybe, and then like, all right, put him away, or interacted with Electro a bit more than like the one time in the prison, and then the next time you interact with him is at the boss fight.
I think.
Again, I think, but oddly enough, I feel the 15, like how long the whatchamacallit main story lasts is like a sweet spot of like I can burn through this real quick and enjoy every aspect of it.
Yeah, I agree, but like I'll concede that, but personally, I think that it's kind of playing on the idea that you know who Rhino is, you know who the Sinister Six are. They're main enough villains where them appearing is a big threat, but they're not main enough where it's like they needed to have their backstory fleshed out again. I think that's just something that comes with the territory of having Spider-Man, who's been there for like 8 years, is that it would be weird to sort of go back and explain them, other than like the brief things. Like, yeah, I think when you go to Doc Ock's hideout, you get a little bit of backstory on them.
Yeah, you do.
So it's like it's a difficult thing to balance, because if he's new, then you introduce everyone and they all get their fucking things. But if he's not new, then you kind of just have to accept that some aren't going to get as much screen time. So
oddly enough, I think like one thing I would have proposed to do it of all things, again, to go back to the least liked Batman game, actually, the Batman Arkham Origins, which I think one thing that game does really cool is like
origin stories.
Batman, No, it's not an origin story in the sense it's the origin, oddly enough, of like the supervillains, and it's just like, yeah, he's been Batman for a bit of a time, right? But he's only been dealing with minor crimes in like the mafia. This is the first time he encounters all the supervillains, and I think that would have been pretty cool to do as like. But then again, I think like if you're doing the Sinister Six, it doesn't really work if it's like, so this is who Vulture is, this is who that is, and I think kind of gets drawn out of it.
I think again, part of the only way the Sinister Six storyline works, I think, is if you just kind of establish that, like, if you focused on all of them, it would be harder to believe that they hadn't. Like, the reason the Sinister Six is a huge threat is like because he can take all of them on one at a time. He's done it before, but when they're all teamed up, that's when it's like really a big threat. But sure. If you did the origin stories, then you'd see him struggle with them by themselves, and then you'd be like, how on earth is he going to take them? Like, it would be hard to suspend the disbelief that he could fight them together at all.
But I'm like,
I think it's a preference thing.
this is like I'm pointing out little things that I don't think actually.
No, I agree. I think it sounds more like it would be cool if, which I agree. It's just personally, I don't really fault the game for not including them. That's all.
But to gush about the Rhino and Scorpion boss battle, I really enjoyed because. So I'm trying to I love it because I'm trying to time like Spider-Man would. Like you can't beat Rhino head on. So right, you're gonna use things to, like slow him down. The thing is, I'm like, fuck, I got this idiot right where I want him, and then all of a sudden Scorpion comes out of nowhere to fuck me up.
So many times, like Scorpion fucking waited until you waited.
Yeah, and it was like that was the best feeling because I'm like, this is actually what it's like for Spider-Man when he fights the Sinister Six. He's like, I can beat you by myself because I figured out a strategy, but like, there's no someone who's just as competent as you fucking my
so
my
you
whole
had to
thing
so you would have to like web Scorpion, get him to fall down, then lure Rhino, and it was just like it was overwhelming because it was like the timing on it was very difficult.
Or have Rhino hit Scorpion.
You had to do it like 8 times too. Like Rhino took a lot of hits.
Also, I love that like I managed to like Rhino can do damage to Scorpion, so I got Rhino to hit Scorpion multiple times to like speed up taking out Scorpion.
Plus,
so
well, what I liked was when you did the Electro Vulture fight first, and those two kind of complement each other. Like they worked really well. They worked much better than Scorpion and Rhino together, and like they were literally complimenting each other. Where they're like, "Good work," and like we've almost got him and stuff like that. And it's just like a little bit more, and it was like harder to get them to hit each other. Whereas Scorpion and Rhino were at each other's throats the entire time.
Yeah, they were just two guys who thought they were both the leader, and it's like, nope, dog. I'm gonna use that to my own advantage.
It was really interesting because in the cutscene when they're like threatening a dude, they worked really well. Where it was like Rhino's the muscle and Scorpion was like the threat. He was just like, you don't want me to sick him on you, like almost good a bad cop, and it just didn't work after that, which I liked because it's a very fragile alliance.
One gray area thing I forgot to talk about. So I loved when Miles interacts with Rhino and he's out here destroying everything. Only thing was with the Miles and MJ thing was like, I kind of wish the two of them played a bit more differently. But like
I was thinking about that too.
They were cool palette cleansers, but they weren't particularly that great in terms of stealth because it was always just like this is here to exist and to help get me through story beats and like explain things.
So I actually liked that because if it was any more difficult, then it would have been enough of a wall to be like, fuck this mission, I want to go back to being Spider-Man. Sure. They went quick enough and easy enough where I was like, okay, that was a nice change of pace. I'm glad I didn't have to do it for that long. And it would have been like, I think they kept the difficulty just right. Because I've played games with shit like that, and that can get really annoying really quickly.
Yeah, like any game that has stealth missions that doesn't fully commit. It's
any game that has stealth missions that's not a stealth game.
Yeah, it's like any game that like does platforming but doesn't actually have a good platforming system. You're just like
Dark Souls. Yeah.
Or Half-Life. God, don't make me do that.
So yeah, it's like I like them, but I agree with you where it's like you play as Miles Morales and you play as Mary Jane, but they both play the same. Well, not quite. Yeah. Mary Jane had the lures, which is
and then
you
cool. had the mini hacking,
and then you had the stun gun.
But
whereas
the stun gun was great. Miles, but it was like, overpowered once you got it.
Yeah, Miles was literally, and there was no repercussion for leaving bodies. Which, as a hardcore stealth fan, I'm like, oh, so her,
yeah, I was looking at it. I was just like,
so that dude's buddies just going to be okay with it. Like Sable's gonna let this go.
Also, I didn't like that they dropped like her whole camera shtick afterwards because it would have been cool to be Mary Jane and like you have to line up getting compromising evidence of people
while trying to avoid stuff. Yeah, I don't think they were done perfectly, but I didn't expect much from them in the first place. So it's just like
another thing.
I went easy on them because I was just like, honestly, I'm just glad they weren't like horrible, because those things just aren't. Oh shit!
What is it? What's it?
Nelson and Murdoch.
Oh yeah, well you do find his business card in the backpack.
Yeah,
and you
and he clearly what? There's a Jessica Jones reference.
Yeah, this is one of the regular landmarks is Alias Investigations, which is the Jessica Jones.
I didn't know that. I knew Alias. Alias? What? This is the second word you fucked up today.
I'm tired. It's been a long day.
But yeah, I liked how he hasn't met really anyone in this. I don't think he's met the Avengers in this, which is
No,
bizarre.
I don't think he has. I think he's just. I think it works because it kind of gives them a cop out and a cop in. Like, let's say,
Like, why aren't the Avengers stopping this fucking siege of Manhattan? Basically,
he did say they were somewhere on the West Coast, so maybe they were handling their own.
Did he
shit.
say that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, when you first go there, he'll say like, I think they're in the West Coast. So it's like, I'm just gonna play that up as there's something happening on the West Coast.
That's
But we're
fair.
focused on New York City. It's whatever.
But I mean, they literally like. There's a lot of. If they're gonna bring Tombstone as a villain, they can bring some minor heroes as well.
Tombstone. So oddly enough, my first interaction with Tombstone as a character was in the Spectacular Spider-Man show that I always gush about,
Jesus
and he played. And that's where I learned about him, and then I like went on and learned more about. But also to go back to like what I want like a Mary Jane Watson mission to be. So like I remember in Ultimate when Spider-Man meets Daredevil for the first time, Daredevil's like, well, these guys are always going to constantly walk because you never get evidence about them. You just beat the shit out of them.
Oh,
and then
you mean
turn
the
them over.
comics? I thought you meant the game for
Yeah.
a second. But like, yeah, that's a literal thing. Is when he just like when he puts or he like takes care of Shocker, who is like a huge joke villain in Ultimate. Where he takes care of him for like the 5th time in the series, and he's like, "Why don't you stay in jail?" And he's like, "Well, you don't leave any evidence."
And so like I would like if Mary Jane is like, I'm going to take photos of the evidence to help Spider-Man, so that way we can lock these people up while Spider-Man's doing all like the punching and shit. But whatever. For the first time, it's great as a palate cleanser and to like help.
I agree with you. That scene in Ultimate, along with I'm surprised you're not a supervillain, are two scenes that like really stuck out to me. Where they're like, oh yeah, moments.
It's always just like, why do these people keep coming out? And they're just like, yeah, because he stops them while they're doing the crime, and you can't like.
You have to prove intent, and he doesn't leave anything to prove intent.
Yeah, he just beats the shit out of them. But also like
That is
the
that is one of my favorite lines about the thugs in this one, where it's like if they're attempting a break-in and you stop the break-in, he's like, I mean, think about it this way. Think of how much worse it would have been if I let you break in.
But I'm trying to think of like something. Oh, web swinging is really good. We haven't talked about that. And
The whole platforming in general is really on point. There was only a few times where I got stuck, which I think is a common thing that happens in Spider-Man games.
Oddly enough, yeah. In other Spider-Man games, I always feel like it's not until like really late in the game where I'm able to like after practicing hours and hours that I'm able to stop on a dime and actually get to where I want. While here, I'm like I feel like I'm always constantly in control, and then I'm like I see exactly where I want to land, and then I'm landing right on it. And I'm like, boom, Spidey. Well, I'm like I remember in Spider-Man 2 and like Ultimate Spider-Man, I would land like down the street from where I actually wanted to go, and I'm like, all right, time to awkwardly run as Spider-Man to this shit. Because I love the vaulting system, because it's not like what you call it, like you're on a pendulum. It's more like you're oddly enough like Mirror's Edge, and you're like parkouring, and then you're just like, all right, boom, here, and then I'm swinging, and now I'm gone from swinging to these low edge rooftops, and like the chasing in the game is just like it's one of the most fun things in my mind, because I'm like I love like being able to route the city quickly, and then being like, all right, cool, this is where I turn around. And also I love the cutscene, the side mission where you have to like look at the photo and figure out where it is in the city. Because I was just like, I know exactly where this is.
God, I had so much trouble with those ones.
Yeah, like if you don't live in New York City, I was just like, this is like, you have to open up the map constantly. But I was like, all right, granted, my only issue was like, because it's not actually Manhattan, there's like a bunch of streets missing. I'd be like, this thing should actually be over here, but it's not because you've taken this other thing out. But it like, I just found it a lot of fun to be like, get to know the area, and you're like, oh, I need to go there, so I'm going to swing there. And that's what this is called.
To add to that, I did sort of learn like the topography of Manhattan a little bit, just from like all the running around in specific areas and stuff. Like I now know Harlem is the north of the islands, just from like randomly running around and shit.
Then, like, you know that when you're like in Soho and Chelsea, that the buildings are going to start to get shorter, and you're not going to see like Times Square is going to have all the high buildings where you can quickly breeze through, and you're not vaulting so much.
Oh, speaking of that, the vaulting system is this, where you web zip, press X to vault. If you time it better, you get even more of a speed boost, like that. And it's just like, it's so goddamn satisfying. And sometimes it's just like better than running through like the normal way. and it just like it feels faster.
I love just hitting that and then like swinging out and then like
I'm doing
flipping
terrible
up
because I need like an objective to like swing towards to do it well. But.
Flipping over the building. Times Square isn't no longer like. I mean, Central Park is no longer the worst place in the world.
God, people who talk about Spider-Man 2 forget how hard it was to get through fucking Central Park.
Yeah, because all of a sudden you're just like,
you have nothing to swing to,
and there's no web zips, so you're just getting stuck on the top of trees. And like they kind of fix it in Ultimate Spider-Man, but even then that still sucks.
So we should probably wrap up. We're getting a little over an hour now, just to make a
like
podcast.
To go back to the landmarks, I do love that they like reference like you see the Wakanda embassy, and it shows that it's like the Marvel universe, and also like there are things around here, and this is a city.
It feels very fleshed out, which is awesome,
and it looks gorgeous.
It does look gorgeous. You gotta love this suit to accompany this, though.
Yeah, like this. I love the home, like, oh, that's a minor grievance we forgot to talk about.
What?
Most of the suits look really cool. The only thing is, the eyes are smaller than the regular, like, advanced
but that's
suit.
like, my issue with that is that, so, one thing that we both have an issue with is like, oh, let me use the Homecoming suit from Spider-Man Homecoming, and then you compare the eyes on this to the eyes in the normal suit, and they're just slightly smaller, and it's just annoying enough.
And the eyes in the normal suit actually emote, while the ones in the other suits don't.
Oh,
so
I
you
didn't
missed
know
out
that.
on. Yeah, so like the advanced suit, like he'll like grimace and shit. The other ones, his eyes won't move. It'll be just the bottom of his mask, and you're like,
I know. They
is he
move in this
clenching
one.
his jaw?
I know they move in this one too. I think they move. It depends on the suit, but
it depends on the size of the eye.
The bigger the eyes, the more they emote, and then
Yeah.
some obviously don't have eyes at all. But it's like, it's interesting.
Always nice to stop a mugging.
Oh, I love the wrestler suit. I just think that shit's hilarious. Like, it's laundry day, and I needed a suit.
There's well, you know what suit you unlock if you get all the secret photos, right?
Yeah,
The plainclothes one, the Empire
Yeah.
City one.
that is pure. It is a goddamn clean laundry day, and I need something.
But overall, I think the story is good. I think it's solid. Honestly, I was expecting it to not be that good because it's hard to make a good superhero story. It's hard to make me care about a character who I've seen so many goddamn times. But like, I was feeling for Spider-Man. Like the midpoint with the fucking when he gets knocked out and you have to play as Miles. That is the best intro to Miles they could have possibly given.
I was stressed out the entire time. I was like, when is he coming back?
Because the thing is like, is Spider-Man gonna swing in to save me here? What's up? And then like just like it's
when he gets his ribs fucked up, I was just like, oh shit.
Oh,
granted,
and then
that's one thing I wish that they maybe like took away a power or something to show like, nigga, my dude's bandaged right now. But
I was just telling
otherwise,
you that in Dragon Quest XI, they a point happens in the story, and you actually like lose your powers to the point where it's like a whole skill tree you had just gets erased, and they refund the points to you. And I'm just like, oh shit, this is real. Like even gameplay wise, this is real. Oh no. So I agree. I think like it would have been a nice touch, but overall, I think this is a really, really solid game. I'm very excited for the DLC, which I don't get excited for DLC anymore because I'm not a child.
Yeah, it feels weird to be excited for like a drip of content. Oddly enough,
that's the other thing too. It's like when I beat the game, I was like, because I've been doing all the side shit as the game came up, and I like so like to get my platinum, all I had to do was complete the story and then go visit Uncle Men's grave, and I was like left wanting more, but I was like, not from the story. Like I felt satisfied from the story, and I couldn't really fault the gameplay. I'm just like, the whole reason I have nothing to play is because I did it all during the game. There was a fuck ton of optional content. It's just that I wanted to do it immediately because I was enjoying it that much. So I didn't feel like I was left wanting more, but not unsatisfied, which is a very, very, very fine line to walk.
Yeah, because usually, like, you know me. Granted, I tend to replay games more than you, and oddly enough sometimes. But it's more like I felt after I finished this game, I was just like, you've not only scratched the itch, right? But you've made me like want more, and I'm also like invested. Like, what else are we gonna tackle in this universe as Spider-Man? Like, So, I'm guessing again because they sold so much that like when Spider-Man 2 is announced, I'm like, I kind of hope that, and I know we were like how you want the symbiote suit in the next one. I kind of wish that they maybe even put it off a little bit longer, give us Green Goblin next game, so that way we get like, because the hair. Also, we didn't even talk about that in the spoiler part.
Yeah, I think
like,
that's kind of annoying. Is that it looks like Harry might be Venom, because that's a little bit too much of a leap for me.
But he also kind of like, because the whole tank was green, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
it looks like some weird fuckery, but I hope that
I'm hoping they retcon that. Oddly enough,
I hope that it's just like going to be cells inside of him to repair, and he doesn't actually.
yeah, because like that's another thing. I'm like, does Norman like? We have no reason Peter Parker has no reason really to dislike Norman other than like he's an asshole. But I'm excited to see like Green Goblin, like what is gonna happen.
Also, Green Goblin would fit this kind of mechanic really well, like swinging through the city after him, like dodging shit and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm excited for the second game. I'm interested to see how they do it. I think that they're gonna have to bring some of the main villains back out again, though.
Also,
like, I don't think that's the last we've seen of Doc Ock either.
No, definitely not.
But I don't want him to just be like a Scorpion or Rhino level villain in the next game, because he was so major in this one. Like, he needs to play a more significant part again if he does come back.
I want Shocker.
I want Shocker every game. From like a boss fight where Spider-Man's like, "You're still trying this," and he's like, "Shut up."
I'm trying to think of other like
I would
Hydro Man.
Here's my hope for season 2, for series 2, or for game 2. I want
Carnage.
Definitely want Carnage, but that's with the symbiote. I want something involving other Marvel characters. I don't care if it's like just like a cutscene. I don't care if it's just like. I think the longer this game goes on, the harder it is to suspend the disbelief. They need to acknowledge they exist.
Also, like, they should totally do some shit with like Daredevil or like Luke Cage.
Right. So that's my other thing, is like, you can't really get away with it with the movie series. You could totally get away with it here. Fucking, let's see some of the ground level villains. Let's put the Defenders in this game. They're just small enough and just big enough where they'd fit just right in.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is that kid in high school and college who goes between friend groups. He can go with literally any hero, and it'll be fine.
I think also Miles as a playable Spider-Man.
Yes, I need that.
But I don't know how they're gonna do that.
You don't get to give him powers. Oh, that's the other thing too. Kill Peter Parker. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but I think it's probably gonna happen.
Oddly enough, so one thing I wish they kind of aged him up, only because like I'd rather
old Parker was killed. In Ultimate he was killed when he was like 16.
Yeah, but not even killed. I'd rather him be like, "Hey, man, I have like a family life now, and like I need to be a husband and all this shit."
You want him to retire?
Yeah, and I want him like, "All right, I'm gonna."
And then Miles gets in some shit, and Spider-Man has to come out of retirement, whoop ass. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Give us a soft end to Spider-Man. Let's have him go through so much shit next game where it's like he just like, I quit. I just need to let Miles take over.
Yeah, and then Spider-Man 3 we kill him.
No, Spider-Man 3. All right, we leave him. He's fine. Okay, we need to kill Spider-Man again.
On PS5, I wonder what the hell that shit's gonna look like. It's gonna actually have a whole map of the United States.
Closing thoughts, final verdict. Say it. Say it.
It's a 9 out of 10. I hate you. I hate you.
I agree.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about the. Granted,
it floats around the 9 range.
The convict outposts were a bit were fun, but also kind of annoying because at a certain point it's just like, I'm exhausted, dog. There's just so many enemies now. I've used up
that too.
But like, it was fun. I just want, if anything, I want more characters, more cameos.
Keep the story at the level it is, or improve it.
Yeah,
like you did a good thing here. The Insomniac Express.
Give us the X-Men.
Oh wait, I want to point this out too. Isn't it weird that the developer Insomniac recreated The City That Never Sleeps to very close to perfection?
I should tweet that and done numbers.
You can still do it. This isn't out yet.
I have a private Twitter.
Oh, oof, oof, oof. You can do it. You can get that small recognition. I have nowhere to put it, so you can do it. All right, but that's it. Thank you guys. Thank you, Carlos, for joining me. Buy Spider-Man.
always.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's get the DLC.
9 out of 10. Carlos Lopes.
And next, I don't know-
Put it on the fucking box. But the only bad thing now is like I don't know what else to play. But
Yeah.
I guess I'll play Yakuza.
It's time to get to Yakuza.